Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Nashville 2024 Bitcoin Conference. How's everybody doing? Right on. All right, so I am really thrilled. My name is Jim Costello. I'm the founder of Phantom Power Media here in Nashville. I'm really excited to be the panelist for this quick discussion of value for value and musicians and podcasting in this space. Hey, raise your hand if you guys know of a podcast app you can use that is Bitcoin enabled. Raise your hand about it, right? Okay. For those of you who do not know, who are Bitcoiners, and you are listening on Spotify or iTunes to your favorite podcasts, shame on you. Stop that immediately and download Fountain. Every single one of the podcasts that you listen to from the regular world, you can do it on Fountain, and it's Bitcoin enabled, right? So that's Oscar's company. Sam founded Wavlake, groundbreaking service for musicians. If you're a musician, you can put your music up on Wavlake. OpenMike is the founder of Tunestr, which is a streaming service for musicians. If you've caught some of the live streams around, OpenMike's company will host that video, and you can boost and zap directly to the artists. So that's what we're here to talk about today. It's groundbreaking stuff. It's really great. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I want to start with Oscar Mary from London. Thanks for coming over, Oscar.
Thanks, Jim.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the healthy competition that exists in this space?
Yeah, so I think what is most interesting about this space is the interoperability between the different apps. So thanks to OpenRSS, we have a way of distributing podcast content, but also now music content in an open way. And that means that if any musician signs up to Wavlake and starts hosting their music, it's automatically available in Fountain as well, but it's completely open. So any developer that's out in the audience or around the world can start adding value to this ecosystem and building on top of the open content library. So we have open content via RSS, we have open payments via the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and also now more and more we have open social features via Nostr. And I think how this changes the dynamic within the music listening experience, if you compare it to the existing streaming platforms like Spotify, is there's more healthy competition and we can create new listening experience because each company, each app, each platform doesn't have to do everything. We can just target our own, niche experiences, make those as good as possible, make them amazing for listeners, and just have that narrowed down focus. So for example, Fountain is heavily focused on podcasts, but we support music podcasts where if you're listening to the show, the podcaster can play music tracks in the episode, and as you're supporting, at the moment you support, the money goes directly to the artist hosted on Wavlake. That's an example of a new music listening experience that is centered around podcasting that Fountain is heavily focused on. But then you take Tunestr, heavily focused on live streams. I hope that there will be more and more developers that come into this space and add to this healthy competition, because I think it's the way that we can win against the traditional platforms.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of us in this space that are like, we just want to push the ball forward. We want to get as many musicians in this space. We want to get as many podcasters as we can in this space. We want to get as many developers in this space. Everybody picks a lane that they're passionate about, that they're good at, and we're all talking behind the scenes about making it work. So, speaking of which, Sam, Wavlake, tell us a little bit about Wavlake and about the importance of Nostr with it.
You got it. Also, shout out to James Costello. Thanks for all the intros, and Phantom Power Music. They're putting on a great show across the street at Embassy Suites, so go check that out after this. So Wavlake, we're basically starting from the ground up. Music is broken. Money's broken. All these things are broken. You'll hear that repeated over and over again this weekend. So we're starting from the beginning. We're building a completely new library. The benefits of that library, as Oscar just pointed out, these things are interoperable. There's healthy competition. There's friendly development. These are all things that are going to happen with each other. Things are going to build up. Things are going to be awesome. So One of those things that I think is really exciting to me, when we launched, our main focus was just distribution, RSS, podcasting 2.0. That was sort of the forefront of our plan. Down the road was some more of the social elements, some of the things like Joe Martin was talking about, where you can see your top true fans. You can start really seeing where this money is coming from. And we launched in January of 2023, and right before that, there was a big push by Jack Dorsey on social media to get people to try out this thing called Nostr. And in the last year and a half or so, we've seen that grow quite a bit. And we've seen that enable things like things that we're working on today, as I mentioned, with just a more direct connection to your fans, but also the interoperability portion, which is another word. It's a buzzword that you hear often with these things as well. But it really is important to have that interoperability between these applications. So fans don't have to work as hard. They can focus, or the artists don't have to work as hard. They can focus on just doing what they do best, which is create music. And right now, the way things work for them is they have all these applications, and every single application works in a different way. And there's a different algorithm and a different thing that they have to feed. And they spend 95 to 99% of their time just worrying about how they're going to get seen. And they barely have time to focus on that one, to focus on the thing that's actually important, which is creating content for themselves, stuff that comes from their heart. Instead, they're creating content for a robot, basically, for machines. So enabling the interoperability between these applications is something that can happen with Nostr, and it's something that we're really focused on a lot, because we want to remove that element from these people. We want to see these applications start to pop up, and when they have a unique element that an artist can take advantage of, we want them to be able to bring their entire audience with them, and we want them to be able to actually have a fighting chance there to be discovered.
Nice. So I want to really talk about the importance of Nostr as well for musicians, and I think it's a good segue into OpenMike. Like, by show of hands, how many of you guys have a Nostr profile? Okay, good, right? So, and this is another one of those things, just like with the Fountain and Wave, and you guys should all have Wavlake on your phone as well. Like, Nostr is an amazing platform for artists. There's no algorithm behind it, and so it's completely open as free speech, right? And as the father of a female artist who hates the algorithm of Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and like, you open up one of the traditional streaming platforms and you get the Kardashians shoved in your face, you get content shoved in your face. That does not happen in Nostr. So it's really important that we bring in more people into Nostr and get everybody up in it. And it's a good segue into OpenMike and Tunestr. So I'll let you talk about what you're working on and the importance of Nostr with it. Before you start, could I get one of the guys from the audio tech crew to come up here real quick? But OpenMike, it's all you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and it's great to be here. I come from the very traditional old school music community. We run venues. We put on about 1,200 concerts per year in Minneapolis, and I've been a Bitcoiner for several years, and just looking for a real use case. Like, how do you bring these two worlds together? Being in finance, Bitcoin clicked, right? And you see what's going on with music and finance, and you see all these intermediaries and centralization, and you think, well, something's got to fix this, and we're well aware of it. We go into battle with Live Nation every single day. We're fighting for shows. We're trying to get artists to play independent venues to support the grassroots, and it's just so similar to Bitcoin. And so when Nostr came out, you see how much time these people are spending, cross-posting, and they're running their entire lives on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and they're not writing their music, right? They're not out there touring. They're just managing their identity online. Just Loud yesterday on the panel mentioned, he's got to wear a different outfit every single day. Like, if the expectations of just being on all the time versus writing. So at Tunestr, look, we're not splitting the atom here. We're not doing anything really unique in terms of in-person experience, but I view myself as the top of the funnel for these guys, right? I have daily interactions with artists, about 3,500 bands a year, and if we can just say, hey, walk in the door, if you want to just flip on the switch, turn on this live stream, it's no risk, nothing, you don't have to sign up for an account, you don't have to connect your bank account and buy Bitcoin from all these, scary magic internet money people. You just say, I want to broadcast my concert tonight, like we did at the Vinyl Lounge the other day. At the end of the night, when they settle up, if, we'll give them the report and say, hey, look, you got $40 in zaps tonight from all these crazy people in Tanzania and Tokyo and, next door, and it's all over the place. And that's really where Nostr comes in, is the ability to have a decentralized social media where the artists can create safely something that they know is theirs. They own it. So they're not going to get rugged by Elon. They're not going to get rugged by anybody. And you then have a direct connection with your fans as well with the development of Lightning payments. You could be transferring 10 cents from across international borders to something that's going on across the world. Somebody you've never heard of, and there's no transaction. We know the Lightning Network, and it's so profound, but it's fascinating that in the place that I work is an iconic independent venue, right? I thought this would just be like boom, click, everybody gets it, let's go, we're partying with Bitcoin and Nostr, and that's just not how it is, right? It's a long lead. It took me 6 or 7 years to really intimately understand Bitcoin, and it's not realistic for us to expect artists to, quite frankly, give a damn at all. We just want them to go out and lead with the results. So you get them a few sats, get them some new fans, get them discovered. And then at the end of the night with Tunestr, if they've got $40, well, boom, then we've orange-pilled them, we've purple-pilled them. They haven't had to buy any Bitcoin, they haven't had to do anything to accomplish that, just play your normal show. And then we got these three great guys here to pass on to a trusted community to say, okay, well, how do I deal with the recorded music? How do I deal with podcasting discovery and content distribution? And Jim and Phantom Power does all the work with IP and all of that, and that's really where I feel like this is so powerful to work together as a team and try to spread the word.
Yeah, I would agree. I want to kick it back over to Oscar, and I want to talk about the biggest hurdles that you're facing, from the fountain side. So what do you got?
Yeah. Before I get into the hurdles, I'll just quickly mention high level what the goal is for, I think, Fountain, but also everyone else here. Music is such a powerful medium, and it has a profound effect on us when we listen to it. Everybody here has probably had one of those moments when they're having a terrible day, they're not feeling good, and they listen to one of their favorite songs, and it just changes their mindset completely, and they feel better. And what we're trying to do is capture that moment and allow the listener to thank the artist and send some value back for helping them in that moment. That's the goal. I think for us the biggest challenge today is actually the onboarding to Bitcoin, because most of the new Fountain users have never actually owned Bitcoin before when they download the app. So they're presented with a wallet, they're presented with Lightning invoices, and they're also trying to figure out, okay, where do I buy my first Bitcoin? And it's very difficult. So definitely the biggest challenge is onboarding, and I think it's something that we need to build partnerships around, because the reality is that Fountain as a podcast app is not going to solve the on-ramp for Bitcoin purchases, but luckily we've got bigger players in the space like Cash App, like Strike, which are kind of helping us overcome this onboarding challenge. So yeah, onboarding is difficult, and I would say to anyone in the audience, help your friends and family through this. Find a song you think someone would like on Wavlake, help them download the app, help them set up a Lightning wallet, help them through sending their first payment as well. Because the other thing we've seen is that if we can get new listeners over the hurdle of sending that first payment, then they're way more likely to stick around, not just in one app, not just in Fountain, but in the ecosystem of Lightning and Value for Value. If someone downloads Fountain and sends a Lightning payment to a podcast, they're way more likely to download the Wavlake app and support musicians. They're way more likely to participate in a live stream on Tunestr, and it works in the other direction too. So yeah, just help people, help your friends and family to send that first payment. Send them the sats yourself. It doesn't have to be much, but if we can get people over that first payment, then they're kind of in, they're excited about it, and I think it's much easier.
I think it's important really to talk about, as far as hurdles go, like when you're dealing with the younger generation, like my daughter's age or whatnot, like to understand that this is new tech. It's got, that we're going to hit some bumps. There's going to be a couple of glitches. Things change. Wallets come and go, right? Like you just got to kind of expect it. I mean, like when my wife and I met, we met during the .com boom. So it was all Netscape and AOL and dial-up and everything was changing. So a lot of this energy that we're surrounded by now kind of reminds us of that. And as you're onboarding people and dealing with these hurdles, it's important that we kind of instill some patience in them. And for my generation, for those of us in our 50s, we're like, this is like the internet. Like I'll get through it. But for the younger ones, we got to kind of go like, hey, it's a little glitchy. It can be bumpy sometimes, but stick with it. Think long term, and it's going to pay out. Because I agree with you, when you have that first payment that comes through, be it from Fountain or on Wavlake or through Tunestr, and it clicks, and you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. It's instantaneous. Some dude in Switzerland likes my tune, right? Yeah. Anyway, Sam, hurdles.
Yeah, I want to focus a little bit on the hurdles for the artists, and because what Oscar said is exactly how I feel about the onboarding part. It is difficult. In the Bitcoin space, I've been in the Bitcoin space for about 10 years now. There's all this focus on orange pilling and now in Nostr purple pilling. And it's just, you're having to sell somebody on something. And you really feel like that's what it is. When I talk to people about Bitcoin, that's always a hurdle for me, is I feel like I'm trying to sell them something. I really have I have nothing to gain from them. I'm just trying to help them as a friend or a family member. But that's something that we're trying to move away from, is not to really have to sell anybody on anything, but just show something. I think Joe Martin on the last panel said, you really have to show how this works. I'm old enough also, not quite 50 yet, but old enough to remember not having the internet, not having smartphones, and you did have options back then as an artist. If you didn't make it in the major label music industry, I was part of all that myself and got wrapped up in it. And when I got burnt in that area, I was able to just hop in a van and go on tour and play shows First Avenue and develop a fan base. That's impossible now. It's impossible now because of technology. That's, in some ways, it's been a detriment, because it's really sort of shortened the attention span of people. It's created this limitless access to music and music curation, and something as simple as just going down into a crusty basement and seeing a $5 punk show. Some of that's been lost. But what I love about technology, what I love about all this stuff is, especially having lived through the analog days of that, because I'm seeing a lot of these same things intersect with technology, and I'm seeing the power of music discovery. I'm seeing the power of community. I'm seeing the power of being able to just kind of close your eyes for a second and wake up and discover a new song and just get excited about it. Like Valerie said, it's not about the money. It's, she might see 5 sats come in on her podcast, but that's the amazing part for her. It's not even about the money. And then the money comes later. The money is sort of the after effect. So the hurdle is really just, for us specifically, outside of all the stuff Oscar mentioned, is just getting people to realize we're starting something from scratch. We're building libraries from the ground up. We don't have access to your Spotify library in Wavlake. We have new artists. We have projects from 20 years ago. We have basement projects. We have all kinds of stuff in there. And I think for us, and a big ask for us would be just download the app, download these apps, download Fountain, go to Tunestr and check out some live shows, and just get back in the mindset of discovering new music again, or even discovering old music, and remembering what it's like to walk into a record store and like scan through the titles and find something you've never heard before. That's what this experience is a lot like now these days.
I love the record store analogy. I have like when I was starting my podcast, like I scrolled through the entire Wavlake catalog. Man, like there is some amazing artists in that space, and I'm so grateful for their music enriching my life. Exactly what Oscar said earlier about you find that song, you're in that mood, and you're like, damn, where the hell's this band's been all my life? Like this solves that emotional problem. So love it. OpenMike. Give us your thoughts on biggest hurdles.
Biggest hurdles, same as Oscar, onboarding. But take it to the next level from my perspective. With regard to onboarding, it's overcoming the FUD. Right, the CEO of Bitcoin hasn't funded the marketing department too well yet, so we don't have people out there explaining this. With a profit motive, right? Like we are all just hand-to-hand combat, and it feels like a sales pitch, and guess what? Musicians are pitched all the time. Like it's so hard to figure out who's the good actor, who's the bad actor, who's coming after me for their own gain, and who's here for the right reasons. And ultimately that's what really got me off the bench in get involved in this space, is that I know why I'm here. I know why, the independent venues and National Independent Venue Association exists, with which I'm involved in, and I want to make sure that people are brought on thoughtfully and looked after when they do show up into this space. And because coming back to the question of what's the hurdle is, it's first off, it's why, right? Why should I do this? And then when you start talking about Bitcoin, it's just either the eyes gloss over, or they have preconceived notions about all the, everybody who went to jail, all the people who got rugged, everybody who's, S-coining and selling junk to people that's now worthless. Bitcoin gets lumped into that same group, as we all know, and you gotta almost start, like at Tunestr, we don't even talk about Bitcoin. We just say, just turn on a live stream and maybe you'll get donations, tips, right? Then at the end of the night, you're not selling Bitcoin, you're just saying, hey, do you want to collect this thing that was already given to you at no cost? And then you develop a different relationship with something that's given to you. And then we all know, like, Bitcoin was interesting. I watched the number go crazy in 2015, 16, 17. But once I bought it, then you develop a different level of interaction and engagement. And I'm optimistic and hopeful that artists will maybe be given their first Bitcoin and then start to ask questions in this direction.
Love it. All right, we got 2 minutes left. Let's do 30 seconds each. Oscar Mary from UK, what is coming up next? What can we expect from Fountain?
There's lots more coming from Fountain. We've got a big Nostr integration that's currently in beta. Come and find me if you want to help test that. I would just say, everybody in this room loves Bitcoin. Everybody in this room probably also loves music. So let's push this thing forward. Go and find somebody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, and show them Wavlake, show them Fountain, and onboard them manually, because this is how we're going to take it 10x from where it is now. We're doing our best up here as the builders, but you guys can help us, and it requires manual work, one person by one person by one person. So I hope you can take that away from this panel and get some more artists signed up to Wavlake and push this thing forward.
Lovely. Sam, 30 seconds. What's coming up for Wavlake?
I won't even take 30 seconds, but I'll just say exactly what Oscar said. Showing interoperability is the shortcut to getting people excited at the family Christmas party. I show my cousin that I can earn money in Jim's podcast, I show them the backends, the Wavlake, then I go zap the track on the Wavlake app, and I show them when they come in there. And it's just that interoperability is really cool. So if you are familiar with these apps, just really show them how it highlights the interoperability between all these things.
Yeah, from my perspective, value for value takes work. It's deliberate. You have to go out of your way and acknowledge that music isn't free. If you like this, you got to sign up for Fountain, you got to sign up for Wavlake, and it takes a few extra clicks. You don't just get a free Spotify account and just start consuming. And I'm going to throw it back to Jim because I really want you to plug your events. Bands at Bitcoin across the street, guys. We've got some epic musicians who played the Vinyl Lounge the other night, and what Jim is doing here in Nashville in your backyard is really special.
Thanks. Yeah, if you live here in Nashville and you're interested in doing some live music with us, we'd love to help you out. And then today we've got some of the artists that are on Wavlake coming over playing at the Bands of Bitcoin 4th floor Embassy Suites. And come on over and join us. And you can live boost, live zap in the room. Rock and Roll Great Cart is on at noon, I think, or 1. I love that dude. He's like it's like the Butthole Surfers, Violent Femmes, and the Pixies. He's a one-man wrecking crew. And then Just Loud, and then Joe Martin's going to close it out. So thank you all very much. Download Wavlake, download Fountain, get it going.
Let's hear it for Bitcoin fixes the music industry. Thank you.